The crime horrific. A homeless man doused in gasoline, then set on fire.
His recovery painful, but through it all, he connects with a family he left behind and finds the heart he didn't know he had.
KATV News Watch 7's Andrew Ozaki has this remarkable news story at 10.
Let's see you walk. I want to see this.
Fred Ronfield's journey has literally taken him to hell and back.
I took a little nap and I woke up on fire.
Last May, Ronfield, homeless, was sleeping near these tracks in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Someone poured gas on him and struck a match. The random act of violence left him burned over 60% of his body.
For the first couple of weeks, they was concerned that I was kind of unstable.
At one point, doctors at St. Elizabeth Burn Center in Lincoln thought they might have to amputate his leg. Then there were scores of skin cleanings and grafts.
Can't describe it. I can't. It was awful.
He got to Madonna Rehabilitation Hospital in September, fighting not only the physical wounds, but emotional ones as well.
You know, really being angry about the position he was in and that he had to be in the hospital and the limitations.
He was frustrated and scared he'd never walk again.
And actually cried for, of the disappointment.
But during that time, he reconnected with the sisters he'd abandoned years ago. The change was remarkable.
He'd be heard laughing, down the hall with his family members present. He started trusting us.
He worked harder, got stronger, then took his first steps.
He became the guy that loved everybody, that talked to everybody, that encouraged other patients in the gym.
He even forgives the people who assaulted him. To this day, they have not been caught.
You have to. You can't live with hate or revenge or bad thoughts.
In mid-November, Ronfield walked out of Madonna on his own. He says a changed man, a better person than he was even before that tragic day near the tracks.
Oh, maybe I found my heart, I guess.
In Lincoln, Andrew Ozaki, KETV, Newswatch 7.
American, pal, just like you.
If you ever played Call of Duty, you are gonna know this. Sometimes you just load into a map and immediately you hear the announcer listing a bunch of score streaks that are gonna kill you in the next 10 seconds as soon as you spawn in. Enemy UAV in the air, enemy chopper gunner inbound, enemy cruise missile inbound. You choose the class and as soon as you spawn in, there are 3 guys aiming at you. You can't even get out of your spawn to shoot back. In first-person shooter games, this is called spawn trap. And really, this happens in real life as well, with much bigger brutality. Spawn point build. This is a very underrated topic in our community, man. I mean, I haven't made a video about it because this doesn't really apply to us. The vast majority of my viewers are from the West. Like, it doesn't apply to 80% of us. But I really do feel for the viewers who have to live in those countries where they not only get to experience the mog daily, but they have to break their backs 16, 17 hours a day. And for what? $10 a day.
In what countries is that the typical case? Also, low-wage Americans have to work multiple jobs just to have their own place. Their own place is usually a shit-quality one-bedroom apartment, not even a house. So those third-world countries are no worse than the United States.
You know what I'm saying? Like, with no way out too, because their economy is crap. They can't get a visa to move anywhere else. And guys, make no mistake, this is not comparable to being born in the poor parts of the West. You still have access to opportunities, even if you grow up in the projects, even if you are living in some dump. At least you can move.
I'm not gonna lie, I could never lose aura, chat. I'm from the projects, roaches and mice and cereal, shit like that. Like, I come from the bottom. When you from the bottom, you can't lose aura. You feel me? I'm winning. I don't even know how I got here. God. Straight up. I could never lose aura. I come from Salvation Army, welfare checks, soup kitchens, free lunch. You couldn't even eat if you ain't go to free lunch in my neighborhood. That's the only way you had lunch. Like, that's where I come from. I could never lose aura. I'm letting y'all know that right now.
That is one thing that a lot of us take for granted.
He's wrong. First off, there are at least some people who are affluent in pretty much every country. no matter how shitty the country is overall. There are some people who are living way better lives than me in every country. For me to claim otherwise is not only factually incorrect, but it's also cope. Here's the thing. The United States is comparable to third world countries. Because I'm a 5-foot tall guy who's lived in multiple ghettos, I could base my viewpoint on antidotes. Because I'm a 5-foot tall guy who grew up without a father in one of the most dangerous cities on the planet, I could base my viewpoint on antidotes. I spent 18 years freezing my ass off on bus stops before finally being able to afford my first car. In the United States, the bus lines are very short, and you will catch multiple buses to get to and from locations. Because I'm a 5-foot tall guy who endured some of the worst quality public transportation on the planet, I could base my viewpoint on antidotes, especially since I've worked bullshit jobs my whole adult life. But I'm going to go beyond antidotes. Look at the statistics on National Low Income Housing Coalition.org. On that site, you can clearly see that apartment costs outpace low salaries in every single state in the United States of America. Every state. Look at the article titled, Report $15 Hourly Wage Isn't Livable Anywhere in the U.S. Combine that with the fact that American colleges have 5-digit to 6-digit price tags. Tens of millions of Americans can't afford college, me included. According to data from Oxfam, there are more than 39 million low-wage workers in the United States, defined here as any worker earning less than $17 an hour. That's more than the entire population of some countries. Also, there is no federal limit on how long work shifts can be for adult workers in the United States. In America, companies, including the one that I work for, impose mandatory overtime, and those companies can legally do that. Furthermore, there is no federal requirement in the U.S. for employers to provide rest or meal breaks to employees under the Fair Labor Standards Act. In America, police regularly violate the 8th and 14th Amendment rights of homeless people at the behest of affluent citizens. In some U.S. states, it is illegal to feed homeless people. In the U.S., there are literally Good Samaritans getting fined for giving food to homeless people.
Just the ability to geomax. Even ethnics in the West, you still have the option to geomax. Still have it better than the majority of the world.
Bullshit. It's not that simple. It would cost many thousands of dollars to legally immigrate into a different country, even a third world country. For most low-salary Americans, that is not financially practical. His claim also comes with the assumption that you have a college degree or some other highly sought-after qualification. What countries would be accepting of sub-5 low-skilled workers from the United States? Those countries already have an abundance of low-skilled workers, and their low-skilled workers fluently speak the official language. Many of these countries speak languages that are very difficult to learn. Countries where the letters of the writing systems are entirely different from English. If anything, Europe has low birth rates and is more in need of low-skilled workers who capitalist scum can extract cheap labor from. So it is easier to move from the third world to the West. And millions of those third world people didn't even have to immigrate legally. As far as geomaxing locations for American men, the most viable options are Austria, Norway, France, and China. The option of China is for guys who happen to be above average intelligence, because Mandarin Chinese would be substantially harder to learn than German, Norwegian, or French. In those countries, foreign low-skilled workers are more valuable. those first world countries would be easier to move to than third world countries would be. Regardless, it would take years to learn thousands of non-English words, and it would take thousands of dollars worth of startup money. Immigrating to those countries would require years of preparation. So, geomaxing is primarily a last resort option for young people.
And I don't believe in all that naive romanticization of the poor countries. I remember when I said something like this in class, back in high school, the teacher had scolded me. Oh, Rehab, only monetarily, financially. They might be living simple lives, but they also spend less. They are not worse countries, never worded like that. A lot of people have that liberal romanticization. Oh bro, they are just carefree people, just chilling, sipping mojito under a tree.
What is he talking about? I have not seen too many people describe the third world as being stable and happy. Virtually no one says that. Romanticization of the third world is greatly eclipsed by the demonization of the third world. Western propaganda against the third world is far more common than the romanticization of the third world. Just look at mainstream news and mainstream entertainment.
Problem. I will not leave without the indigenous personnel.
Dr. Kendricks, we're here to get you out. Now, I suggest you go find the priest, go find the nuns, and get your things packed up and get ready to move. This jungle is filling up with rebel troops. When they get to this mission, they will kill everything they see, including privileged white doctors. What part of that plan do you know?
The border of Cameroon is only 40 miles away. You could fly these people out in a half-hour's time, Lieutenant.
Can't do that, man.
Why not?
Because my orders are very clear.
They go back to their countries and they sell it, and the Somalians don't like that, so the locals just come out here in skiffs with...
Huh, that makes perfect sense. The Somalis are trying to protect their resources from foreign extraction, and the US portrays them as the Somali pirates, and they're super dangerous. Gotta send troops into their country to regulate them, and also drop bombs on them to bring them human rights. Also, the Tom Hanks movie about Captain Phillips, the commercial fisherman who gets captured by Somali pirates, is notoriously inaccurate for the way that it portrays Captain Phillips. The movie portrays him as a hero, but really he knew not to sail where he was sailing. He was just trying to cut corners to save money, like a capitalist, and in doing so, he put his entire crew in danger, like a capitalist. Capitalism's no good.
It's not common for people to see the third world in a positive way. Ironically enough, that romanticization claim is more true for the United States. Living in the United States is greatly romanticized. Despite the poor living conditions of tens of millions of United States citizens.
No, dude. Being born in the wrong side of this earth, which is like easily 70%, at least 70% of the world.
In 2025, the combined population of India, Egypt, China, Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam, Barbados, and Singapore is estimated to be over 3.37 billion. Which is approximately 41% of the world's population.
Is very much like loading into a Call of Duty lobby. There is already stomped to pieces. The moment you spawn in, you hear the announcer listing a bunch of score streaks that are gonna destroy you as soon as you spawn in. You are gonna be feeling like, dude, just get me out of this lobby, man. I can't even be bothered. I mean, at least in Call of Duty, you can just quit and queue for another game. In real life, there is no queue for another game. There is no skill-based matchmaking. If you want to move to another country legally, it is basically impossible. Spawn point pill is really underrated, man. I was watching this video. A viewer recommended to me the other day.
Obviously, so-called third world people don't have to immigrate to the West legally, but low-skilled Americans would have to legally immigrate into the global South countries.
I mean, this topic was on my mind for a while, but the guy really nailed it in some parts. I'm gonna play some sections from that.
This is an aerial view of the city of Cairo. It has within itself over 22 million inhabitants, more than the combined population of Sweden, Norway, and Denmark.
Brutal, man. This is just brutal.
America has more poor people than the combined population of Sweden, Norway, and Denmark.
Brutal, man. This is just brutal. Imagine living in one of those places. It is like a post-apocalyptic world where there is only survival and nothing else. Those kind of places are where manosphere advice still makes sense. That advice of, oh, just make money, bro. Because money is a lot more important in these places, bro. Just look at this. But the problem is how? How? When the economy is trash, even if you find a job, how much is it gonna pay? Oh, dude, I found my dream job. How much does it pay? 400 a month, while working 17 hours a day. Like, what do you do if you spawn into life in there, in one of these apartments? And the tragic thing is, even if someone like, let's say Steve Jobs was born there, he would have lived an insignificant life. Wouldn't matter how smart or hardworking you are. It all would have been for nothing. Nothing, guys.
They don't manufacture innovation, they just endlessly produce humans and waste. These megacities are human existence reduced to the most basic level.
If the third world only produces humans and waste, then how come the United States is so reliant on importing products from third world countries?
I mean, maybe it used to make more sense in the past. You know, in rural areas, children are seen as an asset. Asset you can use in agriculture. Basically free workers. But it doesn't change the fact that they reproduce just because. Even people in the cities who can't take care of their children. I mean, it is completely unnecessary. Just creates more suffering. Increases the burden on the existing population, who are already suffering. In Egypt, for example, the fertility rate is so high, still so high. Even in the cities where you can't use your children as free farmers. It is not necessarily a bad thing to have high fertility rates in itself, but problem is when you can't provide infrastructure, you can't provide proper education, you can't provide employment, you can't provide healthcare. The problem is that, guys, like, let me put it this way.
It's crazy how he brought up education when the United States literacy rate is 79%. There are third world countries with higher literacy rates than the United States, including the ones that are sanctioned. What the fuck? Also, the United States does a terrible job of providing healthcare. That's pretty much common knowledge at this point. Mangione's looks were not the only reason why so many people agree with what he did.
No sane person would voluntarily live in a place that looks like this if they had a choice. But that's the thing, people living there don't have a choice.
He's right here too. I mean, in the video he's kind of wilding. He's a white nationalist, obviously. He's using umbrella terms a bit too easily, cherry-picking, showing the most crowded, most run-down cities. But still,
Alright, so those facts destroy the credibility of the white nationalist. Moving on.
They see those old dudes, sub-5 dudes getting girls, while they have to break their backs, working 16 hours a day. How do you think they are gonna feel, bro?
People should be jealous of 70-year-old retirees who were low-status incels in America their whole lives. 70-year-old retirees who could not afford to retire in America. 70-year-old retirees who went to bumfuck Southeast Asia so they could have sex for the first time in their lives. Either that or have sex for the first time since their scumbag wives divorced them in America. 70-year-old retirees who spent 90+% of their lives suffering and finally have good lives now that they immigrated. Only to die of a heart attack a few years after immigrating. Third world men should be jealous of those old American guys? Get real.
Sub-5 men or old men, whatever, they go there because they have no other option.
Well, these three features that I've picked function sort of like a litmus test, something all third world megacities have. These power lines are just strewn from building to building haphazardly, a future nightmare for any electrician. What am I even talking about, electrician? This whole line has probably been installed and maintained by a single brave brown guy wearing flip-flops.
Yet the majority of citizens in every BRICS country has regular access to electricity. Every major American city has homeless tent encampments and a bunch of boarded-up abandoned houses.
It is not even on the power lines. Sadly and unfortunately, there is a level of unseriousness in all the undeveloped countries I have been to. You know, tangled power lines, people not following the rules. I mean, rules are basically suggestions. Let's be real, nobody cares about them. It is just this chaos that you don't see in the Western countries. All the non-Western countries that I have been to had this chaos I am talking about. The only exception to this was Japan and Korea. That is why a lot of accidents happen in those countries, those freak accidents, because everybody is trying to cut corners.
Okay, first of all, when it comes to living conditions, China is objectively better than the United States. And cutting corners to save money is extremely prevalent in every country that has a free market. That includes the United States. First world countries are even producing products that are built to deteriorate and are difficult to repair. That is part of the planned obsolescence that runs rampant in countries that are considered to be first world countries.
Everybody, bro. One theory I remember reading about this back in college was that, since these people live in hot climates, they are more relaxed. And that is why those people in hot places are lazy. Oh, they are just chilling under a tree, sipping a mojito. No, bro. Don't blame the sun. My theory is this. I think once you are living in those conditions with no way out, no realistic way out, you just stop caring. They realize that they are just trapped in that life, and that's that. They just stop caring altogether. Stop trying to change their country. For what? Corruption to teeth. Everybody is already ignoring the laws, even if you follow them. So you grow to be jaded and despondent.
It is what it is, That's the attitude I got. Fuck it, And I feel that's the right attitude to have, You
do what everybody else does. Just go with it. You try to cut corners. You stop paying attention. And that's the name of the game.
Bullshit. The United States is a corrupt oligarchy. Yet generally, the only thing people do is protest and complain about it on social media. In stark contrast, many third world countries have had civil wars and vicious rebel groups who regularly fight government forces. I'm surprised that Rehab Room would make such a silly claim. Look at the countries that have violent rebel groups. The jaded and despondent claim is clearly bullshit.
Listening keenly to the people of Kenya, who have said loudly that they want nothing to do with this Finance Bill 2024, I concede, and therefore I will not sign the 2024 Finance Bill, and it shall subsequently be withdrawn.
The name of the game. For example, there is probably some legislations regarding the power lines for this image in this country. This is likely against their laws. But like I said, laws and rules are just suggestions in the third world. What are you gonna do?
Second typical feature is the hell intersection. Another element of the hell intersection is the lack of traffic lights or a complete disregard of them, and the people just walking in the street on foot completely at random, sometimes with animals.
Yes, this too. All these points stem from people just not caring, rules not being followed. Again, there is probably some laws to stop this from happening, but what are you gonna do when people just don't respect them? The state can put crossing lines there, but what good is it if people don't respect it? If you're in the Western Europe, you can just confidently cross the street where there is a crossing lines, knowing that the drivers are gonna respect it. You do that in other countries, in third world countries, you are gonna get run over.
And if you cross the street while the light is red in the United States, you could get run over as well. But the cars that hit you will be moving faster due to less traffic congestion than the roads of so-called third world countries.
And lastly, the cityscape itself. The buildings built on top of previously existing structures. Nothing is zoned, nothing is safe. If the building collapses, so be it. The absolute disregard of the common man in these cities is mirrored in the awfulness of the buildings. Exposed raw brick everywhere. Each living quarter, each apartment is like tacked onto the building, looking like freak patchwork. Old colonial buildings are neglected and butchered, while the new ones are unfinished and raw. These third world cities either end up looking like a uniform dystopian nightmare.
It is brutal, but he's right here also. That is why when there's an earthquake or a natural disaster in those countries, so many people die. Because everything is so unorganized. Even if there are rules and legislations, nobody cares about them. People cut corners. All because of corruption. He's just listing visible results, not the cause. I know nepotism and corruption happen even in the most egalitarian Western societies, but it is really a whole other level in the third world, where it is the norm actually.
Natural disasters are dumb examples because nature's forces are powerful enough to overcome safety technology that people produce. Mother Nature is more powerful than humans. And just like it's common for Turkish people to die from earthquakes, it is common for Americans to die from tornadoes. American homes and buildings are rarely designed to stand up to such forces. Oligarchy, severe income inequality and corruption is normal in Western countries as well. It's just that Western corruption is not attributed to things like racial inferiority and unrepairable cultural dysfunction. I have experienced some of the worst shit that America has to offer, and I don't think that Rehab Room has. Like I said, the United States is comparable to the countries that he considers to be third world countries. I'm not going to do the played out bullshit cope of claiming that I have some privilege because I wasn't born thousands of miles away. Because it doesn't make my life any closer to being prosperous, and I know that there are countless people in global south countries that have better lives than I do. If anything, I'd rather have been spawn trapped into a country where my height is closer to the national average than to be spawn trapped into a cold expensive shithole full of people that are genetically superior to me. Now, if I want to escape the United States, I would have to fight the uphill battle of trying to learn the thousands of words of a language that I did not grow up learning and accumulate tens of thousands of dollars to legally immigrate to a different country. Wow! I feel so privileged.